Hello, I'm Bonnie Taylor Williams, author of With These Hands, A Country Girl Came to Town. It's a Black Excellence Award-winning novel that tells the story, a little bit of background about my family, especially my grandmother. I came from a family of entrepreneurial women, beginning from my great-grandmother way back in the day, in the early 1900s, having a roadhouse in Mississippi. Also, being a third-generation hair weave technician and growing up in the salon, I was privy to a lot of stories in the salon. So I have a lot of stories to share. But the first one that I chose to share is my grandmother's story, who happens to also be my mentor, Selena, of Selena's House of Beauty and School of Hair Weave Technology. She was the first black woman to own a salon in the Chicago Loop, on State Street, that great street, in the Stevens Building for years. She also owned salons in Detroit, Michigan, and several more here in Chicago, starting out in the Woodlawn area on 64th and Cottage Grove. Her first salon was in the Mansfield Hotel. Well, actually, after graduating from Madam C.J. Walker's beauty school, she began working at the Persian Hotel in that salon. But then an opening became available in the Mansfield. Another business closed down, so she was able to open her first salon in 1956 in the Mansfield Hotel. Her salon jumped off so tough and was booming so well that the lady that owned the salon she formerly worked in offered her to purchase that salon, and she did that. So during the height of the Civil Rights Movement in 1956, when everything was supposed to be going wrong and bad for blacks, this black woman had two salons in the same block at the same time, so she could walk from corner to corner to handle her businesses, because each hotel was on the opposite corner from one another on 64th and Cottage Grove back in those days. In fact, those hotels were the hotels that most black entertainers stayed in when they came to Chicago. Although they may have had a gig downtown, they were not allowed to stay downtown. So you might see Nat King Cole. She serviced people like Sarah Vaughan. Nat King Cole would come in for a manicure. Sammy Davis Jr. would be through there. Mom's Mabley. In fact, there's a famous story about Sammy Davis Jr.'s wife buying a lot of shoes one time. And my mom used to tell me that story when I was a kid growing up, how she had came in from school one day and his wife was in there with shoes all around her. So it was a lot of good stories circulating through there. But I was always interested in my grandmother's story and how she came as during the migration in 1941 from Mississippi through Memphis to Chicago, carrying all she owned in her two hands. All right, she had her baby because she was a brand new mom, and a teenager, just barely 15, and a new bride. So my grandfather, the young man that he was, had came up first looking for work and a better life, and he sent for her and the baby. So she had the one suitcase she had, and her mother gave her one pan to cook in. So she cooked all her meals in that one pan. She would cook the beans or whatever and then wipe it out and cook her bread, things of that nature. So to me, I like to call it a Mississippi migration to Chicago sensation story, because eventually, after owning those two salons, she opened the first 24-hour salon down the street at 63rd and Cottage with 20 booths, and it was a 24-hour salon. So from then on, she just began to boom. And right after that, right in the late 50s, early 60s, she took the course in hair weaving. So all of that is in this book. So if you would like to know more about the history of Selena and how she became known as the hair weave queen and the weave doctor, pick up a copy. It comes in paperback as well as hardcovers. It's available on Amazon.com. It's available on Amazon.com, or my website is www.bonnietaylorwilliams.com, www.bonnie, Bonnie, Taylor, Taylor, Williams, WILLIAMS.com. It was always my desire to write a book, from my mother instilling the love of reading in me and my brothers as youngsters, sitting us around her kitchen table while we would be made to sound out words, spell words, define them, and put them in sentences. I just always loved to read. So when that love for reading turned into wondering, could I write a book myself? And I was thinking at first, well, maybe not, because there were rarely, if ever, any books that looked like me that I saw. Although I loved the book fairs and everything at school and library day, and it was a thrill when my mother would walk us to the library when she didn't have a car. And when I first got my first library card, I was in love. So still to this day, I can spend hours in a bookstore or a library. But for decades, I've been picking out the actors for my book because I would love to see it be a film. And other people have told me if it was a movie, they would go see it. I've even had some people that say they read the book twice. They enjoyed it that much. Others have said that some that know her, they say they feel like they're sitting there listening to her tell the story again because they've heard it. And so many people have applied so many of her strengths and her characterizations to their lifestyles. If the social media didn't exist, I don't know how hard it would be, because things are so different and anybody can do anything they want to do these days because of social media. It's played a great role to help me get it out there more and more than what I would have been able to. I want them to take away that, say a young girl that makes a mistake because my grandmother got pregnant at an early age. Don't think that your life is over. Know that you can still do anything you want to do. Just be determined and push full speed ahead. That it's not over until God says it's over. But faith without works is dead. So you can't just sit there and wish upon a star. You got to reach for it. So I want a young girl to take that away. In either case, a young man, if he is the father or made any other type of mistake, you can recover from it. It's not over. I have always wanted to be Oprah's friend. I am Oprah's friend. I keep quoting that. Okay. I did hold her hand once when she was brand new here. I met Oprah a couple of times, and I used to just love to be in her atmosphere. I would go to her show, her studio every year just to get a dose of being in Oprah's atmosphere.